Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Putting the Human into Technology. I'm Gethin Ellis, and on this evening show, I'm joined by my special guest, which is Ian Rogers. Ian is the IT manager for Kumon Europe and Africa. Welcome, Ian. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Catherine. Good evening, everyone.
Cool. Thank you, Ian. Thank you. Ian, would you like to just kick off, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the organisation that you work for?
Yeah, so I've been in the IT industry in education from initially working in high schools. This is grammar schools as well as just normal. Well, it's normal high schools, not the word, but so I have experience from
State
that
schools. State schools.
State schools, yes, and all the way up to working for a big university called University of West London.
Okay. That's where my son goes now, actually.
Oh,
He's a student there.
What's he doing then?
Acting.
Nice.
He's I'm not sure what campus he's on. It's West London somewhere. And he lives in and around Wembley.
Wembley. Because well, actually, I used to live originally from Manchester, but moved to London for the University of West London, and my current company, Kumon Europe and Africa, pretty much the two only companies that are in Ealing I've actually worked for. So, so it's I've been working for some pretty all good years. Last 3 years, just over 3 years for Kumon Europe and Africa. That's a headquarters in London, but we have regional headquarters in Spain, Germany, Greece, and South Africa that manages those regions. I visited everyone apart from the South Africa office. I need to go there at some point. But yeah, like I said, so Kumon Europe and Africa, like I say, is a global company. Comes from Japan.
Okay.
Is a school teacher in the 1950s in Japan that his child was struggling with maths, and it's really hard to it's hard to explain, but I wish, I'm not just saying this because of me working for Kumon, I wish, now I've seen it. I wasn't aware of Kumon before I started, but now I've seen it. I wish I had it when I was younger.
In school.
Because my maths is strong, but even though I'm English, I think I've struggled sometimes speaking English. So there is, yes, it's off the top of my head, it's hard for me to explain, but it would have definitely improved me as a.
It would helped you when you were in school. In terms of the sort of, we can go into this a little bit, but in terms of like, I don't know if you know the answer, the kids that would use the service, is it like, what's the age range? Is it high school people? Is it key stage 1, key stage 2 kids? Kind of, was it across the board?
Well, funny thing, I think like a 9 month, it's like some 1-year-old in Japan did some things, but from and I've heard up to 16, but it's mostly, I would say, higher primary school, lower high school.
Right.
But it can be all over, but I'd say that's probably the general thing. It has been pen and paper since inception, but we have had a tablet app as well. Well, we do have a tablet app. We've been running that for about 4 or 5 years from our global team, and been able to do, especially with COVID, it just started just before COVID, that tablet app, so it has been helping with hybrid solutions, and after that, hybrid education, and it's been still ongoing and quite successful.
I'll get into the first question proper in just a second. But that app, is that a customized, fully customized sort of app you've built yourself, or is it using like Power Apps, or is it what is anything funky in it? I haven't seen it. So
no, it's been built by our global company in Japan. So and then so we have other so the regions we have Japan, Kumon North America, Kumon South America, ourselves, Kumon Asia and Oceania, and we have at KA have been so Kumon Europe and Africa, we say KA, has been leading the way initially, but it has been a lot of take up in the other regions now. So yeah, it's doing quite
Cool. Cool. Then that's clearly interesting. You've got using apps to deliver services. How does Kumon Europe and Africa, how does it use sort of data analytics and to tailor it sort of and shape its sales and operations? I know you and we got to know each other before this on LinkedIn. Questions around databases and data platforms and other sort of areas of discussion. So I know you have you have an interest in those areas, which I do as well. So from a sort of data and analytics perspective, how does Kumon use it for its operations and sales?
Well, I should have probably brought up another thing that I've always come from an infrastructure, an endpoint background, and then I only had interest in data, as in managing the infrastructure from a database point of view and infrastructure point of view. Yeah, Kumon, when I started, it was quite data focused. So we have been looking at. So we're definitely leading the way with Power BI.
Yeah,
but we've made sure we have our. So we're looking. We're constantly evolving. So we're looking at how we use inquiries, get to, but also how. So we can look at it from an education point of view, where we want everyone to continue with Kumon, have a good experience. We can make sure we, as well as leads, as looking at retention, and
so you kind of analyze that data and then make a decision who's likely to stay, who's naturally coming to the end of their school life, and you can know where to focus your efforts, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's how we. I don't know how you think that. I think that you have to have a feeling, but you need the data to back it up.
Yeah.
I don't feel you should have either or. You should have both.
Yeah.
Because if I gave our data straight to you, may have go off the data and go, that's from that data we should approach it that way. But someone with a Kumon or other solicitors or whatever will see that and say, actually, our feeling from that data is we should approach it this way.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So on that subject then, has there been a recent sort of technology initiative that's sort of significantly improved, through data and tech, significantly improved operational efficiency?
Yeah.
That you could share that is, I know some of it might be sort of closely guarded, but
well, there's we're in a crossroad where, again, what I mentioned, this year has been business intelligence.
Yeah.
But to have business intelligence, you need good foundations.
Yeah.
So first year was infrastructure, and I would say last year and the year before was bringing. They might touch on some. This year the strategy is getting good BI, and yeah.
Okay, cool. So getting the foundations in good quality data, allowing you to use business intelligence tools like Power BI to allow the business to make more informed decisions. Fab. Cool. Awesome. Right. So you've got this initiative where everything's been sort of business intelligence focused. And I'm guessing this, you being responsible for IT in Kumon Europe and Africa. Are there any sort of key obstacles that you've run into or faced when you've been integrating perhaps some of these new systems across multiple countries? And what strategies did you employ to overcome them effectively?
I'll explain how, and it's probably a good point where how, as I may answer before, was probably quite short with BI, but probably the more interesting thing is how we got there. And this comes into this way because I do see things as setting things up as a cake. And the first year was, like I said, people say they want BI, they want AI. That's great, but you may have creaking foundations, and that's what needs to be resolved first before you have good data and good intelligence. So yeah, just over 3 years. In the first year, I had a very supportive management team that I spoke to them and sorted out. Looked at the baseline. So I'm quite big on enterprise architecture in that mindset that look where you are now, target where do you want to be, and a gap analysis. So I looked at everything from endpoint management, security, and infrastructure, and they're your main foundations. We were siloed and managed by different MSPs in different regions like Germany and South Africa. But my first concentration was to fix. Well, it's not really fixed. Everything was pretty good, but there's things that need to be updated and consolidated.
Okay.
And to make everything a secure environment. So fix the foundations of the UK, but also ensuring that I talk to all stakeholders from the top to the bottom, and communicated with our teams in Spain, Greece, and Germany, trying to discuss what I'm looking to do in the following years and what we're currently doing with the UK, and hopefully, and then the following years after, centralize that, bringing in a lot of Microsoft technologies with SharePoint, getting rid of our file servers, and then from a IT point of view, one Kumon. Well, one Kumon from a Europe and Africa point of view. So we are being able to collaborate better. I say collaboration quite good, but from a technology point of view, being able to collaborate more, reduce the license costs of a lot of software, work together, and I ensure that I've tried to listen to everyone. So I'm not talked down to anyone. So I said with the gone to full cloud Microsoft Intune management, got rid of Active Directory.
Okay.
But ensuring that people can't install anything they wish. But if they wish to have it, then I will, unless it's FIFA football or something illegal or something, that if it makes their job easier, then I will help deploy it to those individual departments. I never say no. I might say yes, but. Gotcha. So I've got supportive, collaborating, a lot of making sure all stakeholders are happy, and now we've got a solid baseline at that point. And with that, and then I just started getting to our management team, quite big again on the data. So if you saw my LinkedIn before, I was talking about infrastructure and security, which I still do that. I see what the stakeholders wish, and it's to be able to have data instantly and analytics. I'm sure you've seen where everyone downloads CSVs, creates reports, and by the time you got the report, it's out of date. And that's where now with all the data into one place and everything secure and securing our infrastructure for that, I'm able to, with solid foundations, provide a secure but rich environment for Power BI.
Getting that balance between collaborative and secure. So security doesn't get in the way of people collaborating, but people collaborating doesn't mean you lose your data. It sounds it's that kind of balance you're trying to strike. How many Power BI users or how many users across the board do you have, Ian? Is it like, what's the sort of user base size?
250. That's all our associates. Because we've gone. That's one of the first things I did was, I think we're using A3 licensing, and some special users have Power BI Pro. I just went all in, and everyone went up to A5 level.
Okay.
So that, because there's still, I'll have reports for the next 25, 30 years. As always, there's our senior management reports, but there's the middle managers, there's the finance team, our warehouse team, how much stock's being used. I've not done this with this team yet, but this is something we can do. Stock and how much cost on that stock. So yeah,
do each team create their own reports? Or have you got like a central reporting BI team, or?
Yeah, we have a data team who've created some really good reports with me. There is some of our users who are using Power BI Desktop locally. And yeah, I really do hope that most of our employees will start using it. I'm hoping to write some guys, because I like to leave, as I said, same with the infrastructure and endpoint, that I like to leave things in people's control and not prevent people from being able to get on with their job. And yeah.
Cool. Okay, and brilliant. So I guess then, given your background in infrastructure and what you've been rolling out with Power BI, in terms of sort of the future and emerging technologies, you touched on or mentioned briefly, you used the acronym AI once, or maybe once in what you've said thus far. But in terms of emerging technologies, do you think they're going to have a significant impact on the sort of supplementary and education sector, the sector that you work in? Do you see that having an impact?
Well, I have a question back to you. Have you looked at Copilot Studio?
I have, yes. I teach courses on Copilot Studio.
Well, maybe you can, because it's.
So I'm an MCT, but yes, I have looked at Copilot Studio in answer to your question.
Because I think it's the way Microsoft sometimes have its marketing department, because we have looked at Copilot.
Yes.
And Copilot for the user, I don't think it's been that impressive. And Microsoft did start saying Copilot Studio. It's kind of like Nintendo Wii, and then there's like the Wii U. So that's how I can see it. It's because like once I just started, I went down a rabbit hole. I don't know what I saw one day. I was like, Copilot Studio. That's like, wow, that's amazing. I saw some videos about 3 months ago. I think it has been out longer, hasn't it, than 4 months ago? But I think they were.
So there was. It's kind of part of the Power Platform. So it's like a low code, no code way for you to develop your own sort of Copilots. And they had another name before. They said another name. It was more sort of bot orientated, chatbot type of low code, no code environment. And then obviously the investment in the OpenAI and all the connections, and then Copilots come along, and there's kind of a Copilot for everything, and people want to create their own and ground in their data and all that kind of cool stuff. And I think it kind of evolved and morphed into that. So the chatbot stuff's been around for a long time, but this definitely makes it better, because it was, in my opinion, the chatbot stuff prior to, let's call it the Copilot rebranding, but it's not a rebranding. There's a lot more technology under the under the covers. Prior to it, it wasn't. I didn't like it. I thought it was next to useless, and I never used it in anger. But the Copilot Studio stuff definitely is proving useful for lots of my clients. Definitely.
Yeah, there's two from an educational point of view. Yeah, I don't believe AI taking over people's jobs. I see it as, well, Microsoft got the perfect word, a Copilot, is that, I say, when we were taught in schools, we had the teachers doing a lot of admin work, marking our books. And that's not teaching. That's just marking books. So if we could, I said I don't have any involvement in development, but let's say, yeah, if a school created a tablet app, my writing's awful, absolutely awful. That's why I recently got into IT. But I guarantee somewhere there's 10,000 people got as bad writing as I have. Pretty much looks the same. I think there is the technology to understand when I wrote a 3 and you wrote a 3. And if we can get rid of admin tasks, especially for teaching, so they can just teach. Especially when I saw it in high schools where, they had special admin days, teachers to, or just do admin. I'm sure if the teacher would just say, I just want to teach, not admin.
Do the admin, do the red tape.
Yeah. It's how you can look at Kumon. There's, I'm sure you get pretty much a big success rate using AI and having a lot of those. But if you keep feeding good data into it, then over time it will be able to do the work. So to mark the work for the child, so they have instant gratification, and the instructor can read that, or the teacher can read that, and just because that's how I can see it from a teaching point of view. And there is, I do hope to. I've got to go through some, because obviously we've got to look at it from a security point of view. From what I've been reading, it shouldn't go outside of EU borders. But I'm not researching enough. I need to make sure that data, Microsoft have promised it won't be trained outside of those, outside of the scope of your company. But as you know, from ChatGPT is a good one where someone from Samsung put loads of company secrets trying to ask questions, or lawyers asking questions on non-existent cases. There's, well, not, but it's more like Samsung, where if someone throws in data, company data that should not go outside the company, then I would be liable. So there's,
you got to get that balance right. I think generally, like as a sort of rule of thumb, anything you pay for, you generally have the option for it not to go outside the sort of, this call it the company borders. Then, if you like, if you're using free versions of it, I think it's safe to say it's probably fair game, and it's likely to be used as training data at some point.
Because what I was shocked in a good way, from your experience, because it sounds like $200 per month per 25,000 messages. Compared to the Copilot per user license is £30 a month. Now I could probably see if you are, I was going to say Marks, but if you Sainsbury's, you'll go through those 25,000 messages pretty quickly. But for someone like my company, or high school, I probably could just go over that, but I think that's a really good deal and really good value, which I don't think people have. I've not really, I kind of tried to preach it to other colleagues in other companies, but it doesn't seem to be that out there, or people aren't talking about it, which I'm very surprised. I think probably everyone just keeps thinking Copilot is Copilot, not the Copilot Studio.
Yeah, there's a definite difference, and it's probably something to draw attention to. Like I've just been sat here and you've been talking about how you're potentially going to use it, and then I thought about your operations and stuff as well, and your sales, and the sort of chatbot you could have on your website, and it could, I don't quite know how your business processes work, but they could work in there in some way, and give a really good customer experience to your user base. And
I was talking to some colleagues, and like I say, Kumon is a franchise business, and there's different laws and different, or how does I really come teach them instruct how to come to the chatbot and say how we're very good with having information in our portals, but sometimes you need to know you have to go through there to find that bit of information. What legal requirements as a franchisee do I need to do for child protection? And it summarizes, but then what I love, it just gives the document that's found. So this is the document you should reference. So it's not saying this is it's not just coming out of its own rubbish. It's
grounded in your data and it's sending you to the right place.
Yeah, and I think that is going to, again, it's only initial checks, but if it can get off the ground and there's no data governance or compliance issues, I see it being a big thing for us.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. So exciting times ahead. So Ian, thank you for everything you shared so far. I've got one more question to ask. This is kind of the fun question. And I think the question I'll ask is the best piece of career advice you've ever been given. How would you answer that? This is a bit of fun, this. So,
that's probably better. I'm sure there's all big questions, but there's always this weird, I don't think it's in career advice. What say? I was working late in, not this job, but 2 jobs before. I was working late and my boss walked past. He says, Ian, it's like 8 p.m. So what are you doing here? I say, I'm just working, boss. And he goes, if I see you here again after 8 p.m. and there's no and it's not an emergency, I'm going to sack you. But he did it in like a winking way. And I was like, yeah, I don't think that's really career advice. That's where, look after yourself and don't overwork yourself. In IT, we have to deal with emergencies. Don't overwork yourself because.
Well, there's more to life than work, isn't there? And everyone needs to recharge and refresh. And if it isn't an emergency, then being at home with your family is probably a good thing. That's a great piece of advice, Ian. Awesome. Brilliant. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Ian Rogers of Kumon Europe and Africa, thank you very much for joining, and thank you for being a guest.
No, thank you very much for having me.
And for everyone who's been listening in, I'll see you on the next show. Bye for now.